வணக்கம். இது உங்கள் HMLA UK யூடியூப் சேனல். இந்த வீடியோ கடந்த 20/7/2018 ஆண்டு திரு ரவிசங்கர் பிரசாத் அவர்கள் லண்டன் பயணத்தின் போது BBC நிலையத்தில் நேரடியாக கொடுத்த பேட்டி இது. அதாவது கடந்த 2 ஆண்டுகளுக்கு முன்பே BBC மோடியின் ஆட்சியை கணித்திருக்கின்றது என்பதை எடுத்துக்காட்டும் இந்த வீடியோ. ஆனால் கடந்த பாராளுமன்ற தேர்தலில் இந்திய மக்கள் இதை மறந்துவிட்டனர். காரணம், இந்திய ஊடகங்கள் இதை வெளிக்கொண்டு வரவில்லை என்பதே ஒரு முக்கிய சான்று. BBC முன்னெடுத்த கேள்விகள் இந்து முஸ்லிம் இடையே உள்ள பிரச்சனைகள். அதேபோல் ஒரு முக்கியமான கேள்வி, The India is the most dangerous country in the world for women and safety என்ற பல கேள்விகளும் முன்னெடுக்கப்பட்டன. ஆனால் இதற்கு பதில் சொல்ல திக்கு திணறிய திரு ரவிசங்கர் பிரசாத் அவர்கள் பூசி மொழிகினார் என்பதே வெளிச்சம். தற்போது இந்தியாவில் நிலவி வரும் போராட்டங்களுக்கும் இந்த வீடியோவுக்கும் தொடர்பு இருக்கும் என நான் நம்புகிறேன். வாங்க இப்போ நம்ம வீடியோக்கு போகலாம். நன்றி, வணக்கம்.
Cow or beef vigilantism, which Amnesty says the BJP's campaign for cow protection, let's not forget that cows being sacred for the Hindu religion, the BJP's campaign for cow protection has emboldened vigilante groups who seem to be operating in some cases with the approval of state authorities.
I hope you allow me to speak now. Okay, you have spoken enough. Don't make Amnesty as the benchmark. Amnesty's attitude towards India on the human right is full of hostility and discrimination. And let me give you a very concrete example. Sujat Bukhari, a great voice of sanity, a great editor, was killed. Amnesty is quiet because the terrorists killed them. Aurangzeb, a proud soldier of Indian armed forces, was killed by the terrorists when he was going to celebrate Eid. Amnesty keeps quiet. Therefore, Amnesty's record of painting India's human right by maintaining a conspicuous silence on the rights of victims of terrorism is too well known.
You talk of silence. Why is your Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, so silent on so many of these communal attacks which have been perpetrated by Hindu nationalists?
First of all, you are being too judgmental. Many have been convicted of calling all them Hindu nationalists. But since you asked the silence of my Prime Minister, the Prime Minister in my presence in a public event once said, please don't kill them. Attack me if you have got the courage. That is the extreme stand you took. And let me tell you, the tolerant nature of the Hindu society, and for that matter, the entire country, I never condone these events. Some have done, many have been convicted for life. That's what the rule of law of India is about.
Well,
but for you,
in one particular incident, some men have been convicted for life. In a host of other incidents, nobody's been convicted at all.
The trial is going on. The police has filed the charge sheet. India believes in the rule of law. If we do it without a fair trial, then you will also say India has become a kangaroo country. The point to note is there is a robust legal mechanism available in the country, whereby those who take the law in their own hand for reasons which is completely unacceptable, the law responds very ferociously.
I mean, you're Law and Justice Minister, so let's get down to the detail of other cases recently which have raised serious questions about the attitude, the strategy, the policy of the BJP. Look at what happened after the most atrocious crime, the rape of an 8-year-old Muslim girl in northern India. She was called a Sifa. According to the police evidence, she was drugged. She was repeatedly raped by a group of Hindu men. She was actually held in a temple for a while before she was killed. Now, as shocking as that crime was, within days and weeks, it had become the source of communal tensions because local BJP officials sided with the Hindu population who claimed that this was somehow an attack upon their rights, not the rights of the murdered girl.
This instance, prompt action has been taken, charge sheet has been filed, and the two gentlemen you are talking about were made to resign from their ministerial post.
Were you disgusted that your own party has individuals within it who can make that kind of argument?
It was a clear disapproval. But the story which you have presented is not the entirely correct story. The police charge sheet has been filed. As a law minister, I would not like to make any comment except to flag you one thing. How we are treating rapes Rape anywhere is unfortunate. Europe or India or America. We have come with a robust law. Now we are giving capital punishment if you rape a girl child below 12 years of age. If it is 12 to 16, it is 20 years.
In recent years, your government has said that it is committed to protecting women. The fact is that India is the most dangerous country in the world to be a woman today. And that's not my rhetoric. That is the considered conclusion of a global survey of 550 experts conducted by Thomson Reuters.
Yes.
The most dangerous country
Yes,
in the world.
in a world of this size, only 548 samples. Here is a report of a special Eurobeater 449, November 26, commissioned by the European Commission. What does it say? 70% of respondents felt that sexual harassment against women is common in their country. Here is a report, an overview of sexual offending in England and Wales report of 2013, which says 85% of the victims are not reporting.
In India, and this is not my view, again, it's the view of people who study these things inside your own country. In India, sexual violence has become part of a toxic cocktail, which involves religious hate, caste and class resentment and hate, and gender violence. Let me quote to you Kavita Krishnan from the All India Progressive Women's Association.
Representing the Communist Party. Mind you, not neutral. I hope you will do your homework well.
I understand.
You are saying responsible people.
You're surely not suggesting that a woman who works for the All India Progressive Women's Association
Because they-
isn't entitled to a political view.
Surely, but they have an agenda against our government. That's what I'm saying.
If I may, this is what this woman who works for the Women's Association says. She says the ruling party has to be held responsible for creating an Islamophobia
That is the agenda.
Hang on, and an
Right, hang on.
anti-Dalit
That is our agenda.
climate which justifies acts of sexual violence and other forms of violence against minorities.
Now let me reply to it. I'm happy. Please give me some time. Communist Party of India has been defeated in elections after election. It has become not only a marginalized but super marginalized party. They bring out these reports which have a malafide political content against my government.
49 senior retired civil servants recently wrote an open letter to your Prime Minister accusing him, and these are civil servants, of fomenting a frightening climate of hate, fear, and viciousness in India. They said, in our country's post-independence history, this is our darkest hour.
My reply to is, out of 90% of these civil servants are those who in 2014 publicly appealed to the people of India not to vote for Narendra Modi. And that's the democracy of India about. I can quote you 200 civil servants who are saying Mr. Modi is leading the country in a decisive way, transparent way, no corruption, and good decision making.
Let me quote to you a senior lawyer, because you're a lawyer yourself, you're an advocate at the Supreme Court, Dushyant Dave, at the Supreme Court, he's a lawyer there, he says the government can make 100 laws and yet it will fail because there is no enforcement. Your legal system is in dire trouble. There are 55,000 pending cases before the Supreme Court alone. India has just 18 judges for every 1 million people. That's pathetic compared to most countries in the world. Over 2/3 of India's hundreds of thousands of prisoners are still awaiting trial. There is a deep dysfunction at the heart of your criminal justice system, and you, as minister, are failing to fix it.
What we are doing is that we are improving digital technology for more delivery of justice. Let me take you
Did
one.
you acknowledge my characterization that your system is in crisis?
No, I'm acknowledging it and we are also fixing it. Therefore, we have increased the number of judges, we have increased the number of infrastructure, more court halls. We have already done 16,000 district courts of India as digital. The Supreme Court, all the high courts today are digital. We have got a proper judicial data grid. Nearly 60 million case records are in, and how we are fixing it.
Why would Indians believe you can deliver when 42% of respondents in a recent survey claimed that they were asked to pay bribes within the court system? And another survey shows that after your government told Parliament that police strength was going to be increased by up to nearly 2 million officers, almost a quarter of police positions were found to be vacant.
First of all, what we are doing, you are thinking that as Justice Minister, I rule all the states. Unlike your country, England, India is a federal state. And even in many states, we have state governments which are not of my
So
party.
you're powerless to fix this
No, I'm
totally
not, I'm
dysfunctional
not
system?
powerless. Please allow me to complete my sentence. That is not fair. What we are doing is, we are giving them infrastructure in terms of logistics, in terms of training. The Prime Minister calls the Director General of Police himself, tells them these are the areas of challenges you have to address. But how do you say that India has become completely dysfunctional?
Well, I've gone through every level, from the backlog in the courts to the corruption within the judicial
You are-
system to the failure to appoint police as promised. Those are dysfunctionalities. But let me add one more, and then you can respond to this one. The Supreme Court itself, you know, because you're aware, you work at the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court's in crisis because 4 of the senior judges on the Supreme Court bench expressed lack of confidence in the Chief Justice himself. The court is at war with itself, and one of the justices warned that unless the integrity of the Supreme Court was restored, quote, democracy will not survive in this country.
We are making all-round effort to ensure greater modernization of the police force. The Government of India, central forces, and all the state governments, including money, including training, cyber security, and in case of women, we have set a fast-track court for speedy disposal of all the cases against them. As a law and justice minister, I am supposed to give the infrastructure. We have already repealed about 1,000 old archaic law of the British time. We have made our system of delivery in terms of digital examination of people, service of summons most faster. Regarding Supreme Court, I have to make 2 observations. I would only say we trust the inner strength of the Supreme Court to decide differences. Differences occur also in American Supreme Court, also in your Supreme Court or your court.
Your Supreme Court's at war with itself. Is that not worrying to you as the minister?
As a minister, I should not make any public comment that my Supreme Court is at war. There are differences.
But the point is that many of the most senior justices on the Supreme Court bench do not believe in the integrity and independence of the Chief Justice.
That is unfair criticism of the Chief Justice. Only 3 days ago, he has given a very stern judgment against our government or Indian government. I think Indian judiciary is freer or as free as your judiciary could be. And that's, I'm very proud of our judiciary. We have suffered for the cause of independence of judiciary and media. That is our commitment, and that remains firm.
Well-
But politicization by political parties of judicial divide is not fair. And second, those who have lost election cannot sponsor collusive litigation to create chaos. 2 things I would like to say.
All right, I want to move to the bigger political picture in a moment, but just one last question on questions of law and justice, and this is specific to Kashmir. Now, you're the Federal Minister of Law and Justice. I wonder how you respond to the UN's call for an international investigation of government abuses, military, policing abuses, security force abuses in Jammu and Kashmir over the last couple of years. Because according to the latest UN report from the UN Commissioner for Human Rights, Indian security forces have been using excessive force. They've killed and wounded numerous civilians, and he says it is time for an international inquiry.
That report is a mala fide report, is a collusive report by a gentleman of questionable integrity. And I'm using all these words with full sense of responsibility. This gentleman has an agenda. I repeat, this gentleman's report is mala fide. And in the UN, we have already protested.
I take that as a no then. The Indian government is not interested
Not
in
at
any
all.
independent
We reject
international...
this report with all the impunity it deserves because it is mala fide. The author of the report has an agenda against India. And today I can tell you, Kashmir has elections or not. Many parties are defeated or not. Today, Kashmiri people are joining armed forces in a big way. They are joining police. A Kashmiri boy has become second in the Indian administrative service in the entire country. They are doing well in sports. Pakistan from across the border has a terrorist agenda to create disorder there.
Do you think the BJP is trusted by the population of Jammu and Kashmir?
Mr. Sakar, we have just had a wonderful support of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. We swept the entire Jammu area and Ladakh area. You have a problem there?
And how many people voted?
Come on, it was a massive voting, free and fair election.
Let's talk about the bigger picture in India, because you've made a point in this interview of referring to the growth rate, 7% in recent years. You're claiming big success in the economy. Why do you think it is that so many Indians appear to believe that Narendra Modi's promises from the 2014 campaign have not been kept? His own popularity and that of the BJP is in serious decline. Why do you think that is, if everything's such a great success
There are
story?
surveys. India is a free country. We have won Gujarat 5th time. Recently in Karnataka, we missed only by 4 seats. We swept Uttarakhand, we swept UP, we swept Himachal Pradesh. Therefore, we swept entire Northeast.
Yeah, but my point is this. Key promises made by Modi and your government haven't been kept. Look at the situation in the rural areas for the farmers. Your support amongst farming communities is draining away because farmers felt there were made promises in 2014 that have simply not been kept. On one other issue too, corruption. Modi came to power swearing that he would root out corruption across India. Hasn't happened. Every survey tells us that India is still endemically corrupt.
I can proudly say to you on BBC Hot Talk, in the last 4 years we have been in power, all the decision making have been fair, honest. No allegation of corruption against decision making of the Modi government. There is scope for improvement, I agree with you.
There's clearly corruption at every level of public service in India today.
Again, if something is happening in Bengal of Mamta ji, you cannot attribute that to us. But what I am saying, we are putting systems in place. Therefore, give me one time, just half a minute. How by application of digital technology we are ushering in transparency? By JAM Trinity, direct benefit transfer of the poor, we have saved close to $13 billion, which was due to be pocketed by middlemen and fictitious claimants. Take the case of this Mudra. 120 million poor Indians have been given nearly 60,000 trillion rupees for their improvement, for business.
Why are the poor farmers in India so adamant that you have betrayed them?
That is your assessment.
Well, I look at all the polls. Farmers deserting Modi at an alarming rate. One Indian newspaper report.
Mr. Sagar, I think Karnataka has huge number of farmers. So has Gujarat. So has Uttar Pradesh. So has Uttarakhand. So has Himachal Pradesh. So has Northeast. I'm only talking of elections in the last 1.5 years, which we have won decisively, including 2/3 majority, including in areas we had no presence.
Maybe the reasons that a lot of Indians appear to have lost faith in your government. You tell me all of the results suggest that that's not true, but I look at all of the polling evidence, I look at the outcome.
You will look to the survey, Mr. Sagar, but not to the popular franchise in election by people in the states of the states.
Well,
I leave it to you and your viewers to judge.
Are you forgetting all those parliamentary by-elections that BJP has actually
Only
lost?
4 or 5, and they have swept others.
Well, you can read the polls any way you want.
But anyway, I'm only saying
to you
to be a little objective.
What I would suggest to you is that there is something profoundly alarming, and I want to end the interview with these words, profoundly alarming when a former foreign minister serving Mr. Modi and the BJP government announces that, quote, democracy in India today is in grave danger.
You're talking of Yashwant Sinha.
Yashwant Sinha.
And this is the 3rd time I'm hearing his name on Hot Talk. I think you can go beyond Yashwant Sinha.
Do you not care that a former senior minister says this? Hang on, let me just finish the thought, then you can tell me what you think. The events, he says, of the last 4 years have caused great anxiety. After working for this government, I realized, this is the key bit, we were replacing facts with fiction, we were peddling lies, we were subverting the institutions of democracy.
I differ with him for the simple reason. For Yashwant Sinha, issues are also personal. He resigned from my party. I don't wish to join issues.
Because he was disgusted.
All right. Disgust was not primarily political. It can be personal too, Mr. Sagar. Let's leave it at that. Why I'm saying so? Please see the totality of India. India is emerging as a global power and Mr. Modi as a global leader. Respected from Queen Elizabeth to the whole of Europe to others because of democracy, performance and good governance. Today, Mr. Modi's voice is heard on the issue of climate change, on the issue of sustainable development, on climate justice. Why don't you see that emerging global profile of India?
We have to end there, but Ravi Shankar Prasad, I thank you very much for being on Hard Talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
there at long last.